right, welcome to the stream. The class 313 finally. It's been a long wait. I think it's been in planning for a year, I think now. Over a year if I'm not mistaken. And it's finally here. I tried it very briefly yesterday. Not enough to gather a proper opinion, but enough to make sure that it works as intended, and making sure that we're ready to get it cracking today as intended. Cool, audio is all well and fine, therefore let us go. So the class 313 comes in the southern livery. It's a little bit different to what we're used to on the 377, as we'll see in a second. Its main sort of, I guess, use case is slightly different from the 377 as well. It operates along the coastway, East Coastway, hence why it's being released mainly for the East Coastway, but it also features on the Brighton mainline, and I'll go into why in a second. So it has a way lower top speed. It's just built for sort of local routes, local commuter, rather than traversing from main city to main city. And in a lot of the situations where we've seen the 377 operate on the East Coastway, those were routes that in real life are operated by the 313. And so what we have on the East Coastway, as we'll see in a second, is we have the exact same timetable. However, we have the regular one, which was updated recently, which features just the 377, aside from all the classic layers. And we have the East Coastway 313, which is the exact same, according to my knowledge, just run with the 313 instead of the 377, hence why you have 251 services in both. And the funny thing is, even if you select the 313 timetable, you can still run the 377, which is interesting. Now, I did mention that it also runs on the Brighton mainline route, and that is because, and thank God they've actually renamed it to Brighton mainline and not London commuter. That is actually quite a big move from the devs. Though I know there was a mod for it, I believe, but I don't think I installed it. So I think that is that's the courtesy of Dovetail. As I was saying, it also features on the Brighton mainline, and that is because it does depot moves and stock moves, I believe. So we have a few moves. I think it's only 12, if I'm not mistaken. 12 in total. I will be running through some of them. Okay, this is there's definitely a lot more than 12. It's probably 21. No, actually, no, wait, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. No, it's 12. I thought I had the numbers wrong around for a second. So yeah, we have 12 here. And as you can see, these are just depot runs. And that is the only time you will see the 313 operating on the Brighton mainline. And it's also, as I said, laid on as an AI service, so you could even be running a Gatwick Express service or a 377 service, and you may see the 313 carrying out its duties. But nonetheless, let us begin with the route that it was initially made for, which is East Coastway. And yeah, we'll take a proper look. I believe it comes with 3 scenarios. So we have Double Trouble, where we're going from Brighton to Lewes, and then Uncoupled, because we will have 2 pairs, and we take one of the pairs up to Seaford, down to Seaford, I should say. We have Far Reaches, a 50-minute scenario, which involves running a 313 from Eastbourne to Brighton, dealing with a slow train on the way. So we should be seeing a few adverse signaling. And a 30 minutes scenario is coming home. Take over an extremely late running service on its return to Brighton before stabling the train at Lovers Walk Depot. So what I think we'll do, depending on how long we end up here for, is we will do a single timetable service just for me to sort of give my own, first impression on the train. We'll do whatever that is. Then we'll do the scenarios, and then we'll take it on to the Brighton main line. I think it's a pretty decent plan. So yeah, so let's go. It would be nice if it could appear first, seeing as that's, I'm going onto the timetable for it. But regardless, so far so good. I think looking at it from here, fortunately we've got the mod that allows us to have a better look at the loco. It looks pretty good. As you can see, it's definitely, if I can say, it's blander than the regular 377, or shall I say the livery on the 377. As you can see, this has a much darker shade of green. It looks a lot more saturated. Even the white somehow looks a lot more saturated, compared to the 313. But let's go for it, and let's change the music because I think it sounds a little bit odd. All right. So let's do one in the daytime, shall we? So we have services that start from, well, I say services, it's a move for only 5 minutes long. Starting at 10 to 4 in the morning. Wow. So let's do something. This is quite a lengthy one, but it's only an empty stock. I want to do passenger services. Let's find something closer towards, yeah. Brighton, there you go, 36-minute Brighton to Seaford route. That should be alright. Now, so far, from what I'm aware of, there are issues with the door chime. So the sound that rings in the background when you are closing, open, or just functioning the doors. I believe there's an issue with DSD. There's no DVD, which is driver vigilance device, on this train. However, there is a DSD, but it's functioning as a DVD. DSD being the driver safety device. So some things to iron out, as usual. Well, I mean, let us see for ourselves. Look, this is someone who's never seen this train, to be honest, in real life, let alone, ridden in it, let alone sat in the cab. So I'm going to be sort of giving an opinion with that in mind. I've been on the forums, I've heard what people have had to say who are more familiar with these trains than I am. So I have a sort of an idea of what I should be looking for and how things should be. Saying that, what's just come into mind as well is there is an issue whereby, well, the physics just aren't up to scratch, should we say. And something like that tends to be permanent, unfortunately. And that's just down to the fact that the physics are sort of so deep in the train that, if we're going to make changes to the physics, you're better off redoing the whole train from scratch. So something that time consuming, there's not really a need for it. So far, and I am also not playing on full screen, so it's going to look a little bit weird for myself, so bear with me. So first things first, it doesn't look completely brand new. It doesn't look like it's dealership, quality, which is nice for a change. You know what? Because this does look very, very weird. I thought it would be alright, but you know what? It looks weird. So let me do this for my own benefit. And then, because I know on stream it looks very, very odd, so I will get to that in a second. Windowed full screen looks terrible. And I can't adjust, unfortunately. I can't adjust the resolution as it sticks to whatever my screen, my monitor resolution is, which is 4K, which is a little bit too much, unfortunately, for my generous RX 580. Everything seems fine. Anywho, good, but all right, cool. Everything does seem good. In that case, then let us get back into it. Right, so as I said, very nice. You see, everything's been, it's been through it. A lot of scratches on all the panels, to be fair, or not really on these sides, but then you wouldn't expect there to be any scratches there. You know, this is sort of like the active area, and I think they've done it justice, actually. It does look really, really nice. One thing I noticed yesterday, actually, was the so here where you enter the guards key, it's as if, you know, the keys, you know, been scratched against the surface where you would expect it to happen. And I thought that was a really, really cool attention to detail. You've also got a speedometer, which looks like quite run down, which is nice. And I feel like it looks a lot more realistic than it does in the 377. But hopefully that's been sorted due to a mod by somebody from the community. And I've realized as I've been here talking, time has been going down. So I'm going to restart the scenario here, or should I say the service. But yeah, first, you know, very detailed. Very detailed. One thing I do know is that the GSMR for the first time, there we go, is functioning. To a degree. You can't actually enter your head code or signal number, but this is definitely a step in the right direction. I don't feel like it should take too long to add more functionality. You know, I'm not expecting to actually have a signalman reach out to you and speak to you and vice versa. As much as, you know, you can contact the signaler through here, which is a very, very, very good addition. But it would be nice, for example, I know on AP packs, Armstrong Powerhouse, local, I mean, let's take specifically the 377, it's one of the ones I have for Train Simulator. And on that, you can, you know, enter the signal number, enter the train head code, and it just sort of loads it. But then that's it. And you don't need more than that. It's a game at the end of the day. You know, there's only so much realism you can expect to achieve. But yeah, I guess we'll do the sounds once we get moving. Is that reverb? That's not like TSW2. All right. It's nice to see that we start with tail lights as well, by default. Both tail lights, if I'm not mistaken. Yep. Are on, which is what you encounter in real life. You wouldn't get into the train and the headlights are already on. You would always find it like this. So that's great. I don't believe you can change the destination PIS, which is unfortunate. But I mean, for me personally, that's not really something that I would be too concerned about. I have no reason to be concerned about something like that. We somehow have passengers inside, which is interesting, but I wouldn't scratch that as an issue off the jump because I have a mod that enabled rush hour passengers for... Actually, no. That's for BML. That's for the Brighton Main Line. The rush hour passengers have been actually added by Dovetail finally for East Coastway, which is pretty cool. But I just want to see what the doors sound like. Yeah, unfortunately it is a bit odd that we have passengers here already, but you know.
A national fault is affecting the customer information screens and announcements at
And I've completely missed. Yeah, see, this is interesting. Why are the passengers, you know, now getting off the train? It's nothing serious. It's nothing serious. But it's a bit weird. Well, there is a chime of some sorts. But of course I assume it's not the correct one, as what's been said by people who are more familiar with this train than I am. So let us restart, and yeah, let's see see the physics for ourselves, hear the sounds for ourselves. The sounds aren't terrible as far as I'm aware. They're not perfect, but they're not terrible, especially considering what we've had recently. One should be grateful, if we're being honest. Let us turn on the usual. Let us locate the AWS and... I believe TWS is completely functional. I think we'll be alright with cab lights off. There's pretty decent visibility. And we're ready to go. That was a very quick acceleration curve for notch 1. A very quick acceleration curve. We accelerated almost immediately. And something I've seen is that this allegedly in game accelerates quicker than the 314, which operates on overhead wires, which operate at 25,000 volts. Now that is a lot of power, especially when you compare it to this running on only 750 volts of the third rail. And this accelerates much quicker than the 314 on Cathcart Circle. That's definitely incorrect. So far, joint sounds are pretty good. I know we have been missing those, especially on the upcoming West Cornwall routes. On the streams, we've seen a great lack of joint sounds, flange sounds, more brake sounds. There's been a lot of issues with the sounds on that route, but something like joint sounds are very important to immersion, especially if you consider that we are operating, and I'm referring to the 150 as coming up on the West Cornwall route. We're operating a route from the 90s, if I am not mistaken. The route is set in the 90s. Where there was pretty much just joins the track, especially on that line. So it's odd to feel as if you're driving, you know, on a CWR rail, continuously welded rail, as if, you know, as if you're driving a Javelin, for example. It's a shame. It's a shame. Not necessarily game breaking, but especially if you've been around there, especially if you've... The thing is, it's such an iconic route. So a lot of the people, a lot of the players of this game who are, well, who initially intended to get West Cornwall route, they're all very aware of this route, and they've probably, you know, a lot of them have experienced this route, that route. And when you talk about experience in a railway, a lot of it, maybe 60% of it, is sound. And so when you kind of get that wrong, how much immersion remains? Especially when it's not just that, but it's that plus the train itself. You know, sound is a very, very big factor. I mean, that's why, yes, although you know, this isn't perfect, it's good. As far as I've been made aware, it's good. That's enough. That alone plays a big part. And one can only hope that maybe, perhaps, I think there already might be an audio mode actually, but even that alone, from what I've seen, isn't, you know, perfect. We have a 377 coming down the line. It looks like a very humble train. I don't know if that makes sense, but it just seems very humble. Definitely very fitting to the route. Definitely very fitting. My only gripe is... where is the sunflower? Because I was initially going to say, my only gripe is that it's not in view, but I'm not seeing it at all. And my understanding was that it's connected to the AWS system. Now, I'm not supposed to be driving this perfectly by any stretch of the imagination. I'm aware that in reality, one would only really use full service in an emergency situation. And I've just been sort of doing only that. I think it will come with time. And I mean, I'm sure even hopefully by the end of this route, I can sort of gauge the strength of the brakes. Strength of the brakes themselves are not something. Hey, American Line. American Line, are you Matilda? Are you Matilda? I was going to say yes. I'm not yet familiar with the how realistic the brakes are. That's not something I've actually seen come up. I know there might have been a little something with the audio. Might be a little bit off. Okay, welcome to the stream, American Line. I know you were here the other day when I was streaming GTA, but welcome once again. How are you doing? A little bit of wheel spin there. That might just be down to the physics themselves rather than notch 4 being the incorrect power level to set off in. Now this did seem a little bit longer in time-wise than the other services on the timetable, and I do wonder if we will encounter some adverse signaling, or well, yeah, that's the only thing we can encounter. So we'll see. There doesn't seem to be too much traffic, and I've just unlocked an achievement in a flash. I'm assuming that's because of already the speed. That was interesting. Seem to have, yeah. For some reason, there's a bit of wheel slip as I engage the brakes. I know we're in a slight gradient, but I'm accelerating. Sorry, I'm braking from coasting speeds, and whether it's a gradient or not, regardless even of the speed, I'm very sure there shouldn't be any wheel slip in a situation, especially in completely dry conditions. But regardless, the first notch of braking should never induce wheel slip. We have another 313 coming towards us, and as you can see, the lights are taking a long while to pop up. They will eventually. There we go. And that was actually something that was mentioned in the forums as well. The LODs take a little while to appear. Yeah, definitely getting there with the braking system. Still might take a little while. From what I've learned as well, is the interior isn't exactly, well, perfect necessarily. But again, personally to me, who I don't tend to ride as a passenger, I tend to mostly do just kind of timetable just services really. That's not going to bother me, one, and two, because I've never actually ridden on this train. So, you know, somebody who's in my position, it's a decent deal. It's a decent DLC. You know, you have all the services on over here on East Coast Way. One thing I do actually feel is at times I feel a little bit too close to the front here. Nothing major. I prefer to sit a little bit more backwards. But yeah, as somebody who's not who hasn't got knowledge of the fine, you know, the complete absolute details when it comes down to this train, I am not bothered by any of the quote-unquote bugs, if you'd even refer to them as bugs. The term bug gets thrown around quite lightly. You know, anything that's been mentioned so far that's not perfect, personally, doesn't really bother me. I mean, it's pretty cool. As I said, you have 251 services on here. You have the 12 services on the Brighton main line, if you have that, which I do recommend. So you have an extra layer for that. If you're on next gen and PC. So I think for $11.99, you get 3 scenarios as well. I don't know. $11.99. It's a fair bit. I don't think so. Maybe at 20% off, 30% off. I'm not disappointed that I've paid $11.99 for it. Not at all. The braking came on very strongly there. So strongly, in fact, that we're going on a downhill gradient of 1.1% and the loco is still accelerating. Clearly, there's something wrong with the physics. Alright, I've changed my, I think, opinion. It's definitely not worth 11.99. Not with the current problems. Not with stuff like that. That, to me, is borderline game breaking. Now, one might find that it's extreme, and I understand why. However, if we're trying to run down, see, the focus of Train Sim World is to simulate a train. You, as a player, want to experience what it's like driving a train. When you have brakes, see, look, now I've done notch 1, and they're fine. So it seems like you have to apply power after you finish braking and then brake again to avoid that. Because now if I go on notch 1 again, look, it's very extreme. And it continues to slow down until I put on power. Now that completely interferes with the experience. Completely. And makes me debate whether this would be worth, with the current issue, whether it'd be worth it at even half the price. And I don't think it is. That is borderline broken. That is borderline broken. And I wonder why something like that wasn't picked up. Same way the light issue with other 313s coming towards you. Why wasn't this stuff picked up in testing? It seems like something that you would definitely come across in general, let alone in testing when you're specifically looking for inaccuracies and issues. So that's strange. That's really affected my opinion, actually. That's really affected my opinion. Because now I feel as if it's been released in an unfinished state. I really do. And that's a shame. Because it was actually going pretty well up until that point. Now, I didn't have that problem just then, even though I hit the brakes, then release, then hit the brakes again without accelerating in between. So it makes me think that it only occurs at certain speeds. Which is more interesting. Regardless, we continue arriving at Luz. Perfectly on time. Literally perfectly on time. As you're of course already aware, we are running a 3-car unit, which is sort of the standards of these trains as they operate, unless it's very busy or the football's on, or any other situation that may require these two of these to run together, creating in turn a 6-class unit. So that's also a thing, but of course just not as common as these. One thing I noticed as well, that unfortunately occurs with the 377 on the Brighton main line, is that there is no spillage of light coming in from the passenger compartments, as of course should be the case. I do wonder when that is going to be fixed on the 377. sound seems to function as it should. With window down, things have gone a lot louder. Sounds alright again. Once again, I'm not. Alright, so okay, the sunflower is there. So I feel like that should have lit up earlier. We had a yellow, right? I'm certain we had a yellow, hence why I was expecting it. Because I know it doesn't light up when we have the all clear. But yeah, the sound sounded pretty fine. I guess what I'd imagine these sound like, or close enough. Maybe not exactly what I'd imagine they sound like. This sounds closer. Especially now as we're coasting and slowing down. This one in particular, to me, sounds closer to what you would hear from a London Underground train. It does it better than the 72 stock in game does it. Which is an interesting fact, for sure. So I'm expecting either a 313 or a 377 to come from the Eastbourne sides. And we should be cutting through right down the middle. Yep. So I've gone straight into notch 4 there. And we had no wheel slip. Well, until then. So I can only imagine something like the issue we had earlier with the braking and wheel slip appearing to be down to a bug more than anything. I don't think we should have had the AWS go off there unless we have a speed reduction, which I did see. I think that applies to which has just been cleared. I think that applies to the freight trains though. I saw a 40. Well, we went past it pretty quickly, so I didn't get the best look at it. However, I do believe that was for freight services. Coming up to Southeast now. As well as a 60 miles an hour reduction. Again, very extreme braking. I guess we'll use it to our advantage. And we overshoot. Ironically, as we were overbraking, we also overshoot. We'll take that as is. That's the thing, when you have such an issue is that you don't... it doesn't allow you to get a feel for the brakes. I take full responsibility, however, would have been nice to have a smooth, sort of controlled running. I mean, you saw how fast we went down from 60 to 40. Just outside the platform ramp. Regardless, we made it here on time. I would assume the PIS is controlled from here. Not the hardest thing in the world to work out, I guess. Might as well put our sun visor to use. And it actually does help. How about that? I really feel like there is barely a difference between step 2 break-in and full service. Not much longer to go now as we approach our penultimate station. coming to learn that braking is something you really need to be very cautious with and calculated. Because I think in a lot of other EMUs, braking from where I started braking would have brought me to a very comfortable stop, a lot quicker than this, where I had to end up using full service, which, as I made mention of before, isn't the most realistic way. Isn't really the way you want to be braking. Somehow we've ended up behind schedule, and I wonder if that red we were at for a while earlier has something to do with that. We're not too far behind schedule, but we're behind schedule nonetheless. We're straight into a step 2 break-in just to be on the safe side. It's been a decent run. My first run in the 313. It was cool. You know, I know this DLC isn't set out to be amazing and glorious, irregardless of how much time it's spent in development. I think it serves, it serves its purpose. It's a local EMU, you know, serving local towns, local stations. You know, of course, it's not built for high speeds. It's not an express train by any means. I don't think there's any express runs. On a side note, it's nice to see a lot more passengers now that the rush hour update has reached East Coast Way. Arrived just behind schedule. I guess you could put that down to braking being a bit funny. But yeah, it's just it's a small loco, you know. Doesn't do anything other than hipper moves and 40-minute passenger services. 40-minute at most. So I think with that in mind, if the physics were sorted, that's like the main one. I guess yeah, it would be worth, I think, $11.99. You know, everything else isn't the most major. I mean, one could argue the very quick acceleration, definitely immersion braking, especially if you've been on a train, been on this particular train. We actually have 3 chapters for the journey. This is something I actually didn't take a look at. All the scenarios take place in the first chapter, and then you just have a series of timetables. So I think my plan initially was to do a timetable, do the 3 scenarios, right? and then do the BML run. I think I'll do the BML run now, and then we'll take a look at the scenarios, or at least one of the scenarios. Let's do one again in the daytime. Earliest one where we have some light. It's 5 Bravo 8 8. Because this is in parts, I'd rather not. Because I would prefer to do them one after the other, and also it's an hour long, so might leave that one for a rainy day. This is a very, very short run, but it's at night, and I'm intrigued to see what this train looks like at night. I'm not expecting the headlights to project much light. I don't know what the lighting is going to be like. We'll see. It took a little while to get that load in. Not much light's being projected. I guess really you'd expect most of the light to be coming from that center bulb. You know what? I think we'll do that run. We'll do that run. We should have time. Should have enough time to do that and at least a scenario. Bear in mind, I think the first scenario is only what, 20 minutes long? Or 30 minutes long? There is no headlight projection, by the way. I mean, from here you can see it's very, very, very small. Only going up till about here. Which I guess ultimately isn't going to help you. As has been said before, these lights on British trains really only tend to be there for you to be seen rather than for you to see, which is interesting, but it makes sense. Hence why you have the lights that you do, for example, on the Class 66. That's the train that operates mostly at night, and you know, compared to what we get in Europe and America, yeah, I think to even call those lights mediocre would be a large overstatement, an exaggeration. I am enjoying the joint sounds though. Something so simple, but yet very immersive. They're almost a little too loud, almost intrusive. But then again, maybe that's the case with these trains in reality. You know, that's something that I can't speak on. If only we had them on the Bakerloo line, am I right? I mean, you have jointed towns in the sidings. You have them, I think, leaving Queen Park, heading towards Elephant and Castle. And that's it. Which is a big shame because this sound is so prevalent on the OU. And it's such a shame to have it just not there. Alright, so we're literally just going to stop here and call it a night. We'll do the Brighton mainline run. I haven't done many Brighton routes. I haven't done any as of yet. I'm waiting to get through the journey mode Great Western Express routes, of which I believe there are... I have 13 left to go through. So a little while left. I'm doing some off stream as well as on stream. So you'll probably be with me most of the way. Right, let's run yeah, we might as well do part 1 and part 2 in that case. We might as well do part 1 and part 2. So, Lovers Walk to Selhurst. That'll take a little while to load. I know the routes don't particularly load particularly quick. I've noticed this one takes a little while longer than the rest, and I wonder why. And it's not only the fact that it's on the Brighton mainland, although of course it's a lot more tasking on the drive than something like East Coast Way. But I also had the same issue on East Coast Way. But I'll give it, I don't think it took this long. I don't think we had a change of loading screen. Which is interesting because I have the game on what is currently the fastest NVMe M.2 Gen 4 SSD. So there is no hardware limitation. So this is core game issue. Unfortunately, it's taking a very long time. If not for the change in loading screen, I would have thought that it might have been frozen. The circle on the bottom left is now only just spinning. It was frozen for a while, as it is now again. And we finally loaded in. That was a very, very long time. That was poor. I pity those on a mechanical hard drive or on last gen. Well, you guys don't have to deal with the layers, but regardless, that was a bit terrible. Anywho, part 1 of our run. So of course, taking this to the depot, we won't be stopping at any stations. Let me take a closer look at everything here. Just to make sure that I'm not missing out on anything. I guess we could turn the lights off, but passenger lights off. Nothing I'm too bothered about though, if I'm being honest. A 377 heading towards London Victoria, I assume. Frames are not the best. I guess it would have been nice if we started from within the sidings, as in under the shelter, sorry, the canopy. But we're just nitpicking here, aren't we? "39 miles to go." Of course, Selhurst, much closer to London than it is Brighton. It's interesting. It's quite nice leaving from the sides here. Not the usual Brighton main tracks. So I do wonder if we're going to come across any adverse signaling. I mean, we already have. We are going to be stuck behind the 377 that we just saw. And I think we'll be there for a while. I don't think there is any, yeah. We're only going to be running 2 tracks for a while still. So yeah. Expecting a single yellow ahead of us. Should have cleared to a double by now. Can't be too sure yet. Should give the 377 enough time to pull away slightly. We can see the 377 now ahead of us. Still at the station, doesn't look like it's departing yet. Frames are really struggling right now. Probably going to have to touch these settings down just a little bit. Just turn everything else on ultra right now to high. Barely a difference, I'll be very honest. May have to go down to medium depending on how things go later down the route. But for now, we'll be alright. 377 is slowly making its way out. So we should be on the move shortly. I'll probably take it very slow from here on. You can still see it ahead of us. No point picking up speed at all. This is the thing about a lot of these stock moves, especially the ones that take place during the day. you're always going to have to give way and prioritize, or should I say, this is the signaler will always prioritize, you know, passenger services. So you're just going to have to suck it up and do all the yellows that come your way. So I'll probably hold notch 1 for now until we get a green aspect. Because once again, I don't really see a point in, you know, not only do we not have a tight schedule with time to actually, you know, reach Selhurst, but I'm also not a fan of, you know, accelerating all the way up to the red just to stop at the red and then accelerate right back up to another red. You know, this way we're moving, we're now on a green aspect, and as soon as we get past this green, we will put our foot down, so to speak. And now, hopefully, with any luck, the next aspect should be clear. Yup. I think it's surprising to me more than anything that I'm yet to do any services or journey mode or anything of the sort on Brighton Main Line. It being the one of very, very few trains that I've experienced on this game. One of two, actually, if I'm not mistaken. And lines as well. I haven't taken it all the way to Brighton from London Victoria, but I have gone from London Victoria to Gatwick Airport on the 377. So we're able to stretch his legs a little bit before we've hit another yellow aspect. Should be able to get away with notch 1 braking. I doubt we'll even get to the red signal. But if we do, notch 1 should be sufficient braking. We'll probably just coast from here. Might have to put a bit of power on, just because we're on a slight gradient. But I think we'll be alright. Especially when we have almost a mile from that yellow to the red. Frames are back up to almost 40. I think that was just down to there being 2 trains in the vicinity. Of course, it would be amazing to just play on a solid 60 at all times. But even with at the absolute balls to the wall PCs, they struggle. If nothing at all, they'll struggle with the stuttering, which is actually something I haven't experienced too tough so far on here. .387. It's the trains. So the 387 went past. I went down as low as 25 frames. And although I'm only back up to 30, 31 to be precise, That's not as low as when the train was coming towards us. As a matter of fact, I don't think it will hurt to turn everything to medium, especially because everything just seems very bright anyway. I don't feel like I'll be missing out on much, if I'm being very honest. I haven't had to do this on any other route. Oh, definitely. You know what? Let the foliage come back up, because that actually... And we're still only on 33 frames. If I was to put that down further... Let's put everything on medium then. So everything on ultra, I had 30 frames. Everything on medium, I'm on 38. So it seems like foliage is has a big hit. And now that we're completely away from the foliage, up to 40 right now. Mid 40s, low to mid 40s. Once again, we'll just hold notch 1 of power until we get a green with a singular lonely wagon. Would have been nice if we were routed around that 377 here. It does seem possible. Beyond my scope of knowledge, whether that happens in real life or not. But I feel like it would have made sense, because I know for sure that the 377 stops here at Haywards Heath. So I feel like it would have made sense to route me around. But hey, I'm no signalman, so... We don't seem to be holding anyone up behind us. So that's all good. 26 miles to go. The thing is, the only advantage really that I have here in terms of being able to go a bit quicker is that 377 will reach 90 very quickly. Well, very quickly relative to me and the 313. So the only thing I really have to worry about is the continuous stops. For like AWS possibly should have been triggered then. We had an upcoming signal for a couple of seconds, but it was as I was going over the ramp. So I feel like I should have been alerted there. Gosh, the foliage looks horrendous at places with it down on medium. Unsurprising that it hits the PC so hard, or should I say the system, whether that's a console or a PC. But it makes sense having to render so much. Everything is loading in so slowly. But I know that can be tweaked within the firewalls. Not something that I personally do. At least not until I get my hands on a 3080 or at least a 3070 graphics cards. I think this is more than enough to push my very humble RX 580, as mentioned earlier. Something I just noted is the PIS is actually very, very, very well done. It's like the perfect shade of orange. I think it's a bit off. It completely skips me what loco it was. It could have been a 377, the BML 377, but I don't think it was. But it was lacking saturation. It was lacking the orangeness that you get from the PIS. But they seem to have got it pretty much on point. Something I'm not doing with the braking over here. So now that we've been shifted over, we may have a chance at overtaking the 377. Unless it's also been shifted over, but I don't think it has. So hopefully we get an opportunity to go past it. Warning for upcoming speed reduction. as you can tell. Now approaching Gatwick Airport. So hopefully we'll see some flybys. Service ahead will definitely be spending some time at Gatwick. I can barely see anything above the trees here. I do have a plane over there though. And you will notice, thanks to a handy little mod, there are now some new colors on the planes. You can guess. You can guess. Especially from the UK. You'll know straight away. Some mod that has enabled the planes to actually look like planes. With EasyJet livery. Because, you know, EasyJet. Of course. Very dead for an airport, but hey ho. There we go. You have a plane there, you have a plane there. Very busy airspace. Alright, just approaching Gatwick Airport now. Gatwick Airport Station, specifically. Still in a yellow aspect. So we'll continue coasting. We've actually been coasting for a while at 36. Even though we're on a downhill gradient. A very minor downhill gradient, but nonetheless. I guess this train is quite light. We went over a ramp which hasn't cleared our daffodil. Even though we had the green aspects ahead of us. So yes, definitely some funny business still occurring with that. But I think something like that can be sorted very easily. As we discussed earlier, something like the physics, not so much. Which is unfortunate because that is an issue. That is an issue. Whether it's the speed of the acceleration, whether it's the rate of acceleration, should I say, or the strength of, or the little braking issue we went over earlier on our trip to Seaford. That is a lot more. I want to say it's more immersion braking than something like an AWS issue. But it's definitely significant. It's definitely significant. I think the plan here is just to continue coasting until we go past the signal and have a green at the next signal from the get-go. Because right now we're still seeing yellows for a little while. So we'll just give this 377 a little bit of leeway before we catch up to it once again. And there's no one behind us. There's no service behind us right now. So we're not delaying any services either. Now we're taking in, I mean, I wouldn't say so much the sites per se. We're taking in everything. Houses, fences, tracks. There's also not much traffic. We've seen 2 Gatwick Express services, one which was at Gatwick Airport. Now we've been cleared. We've seen, I think, 2 southern services coming our way. One ahead of us that overtook us at the very, very beginning. And that's it, really. We haven't really seen much else. I mean, I guess it's lunchtime. I don't think you would necessarily expect so many services at this time. There's another 387. Quite a small window. I was looking at this side window, and I feel like it's taller at least than our windscreen. Definitely not as wide, I don't think. No, it could be as wide. Maybe just a little bit narrower. Just a little bit narrower. So kind of somewhat reminiscent of the 377 in that sense. As much as, of course, CWR is the future, there's just so much nostalgia with Drenthe Trek. Especially for me, having grown, you know, in London, with the London Underground, which is still... I think pretty much all Drenthe Trek. I may be wrong. I guess I've been on enough southern services to kind of get used to the smoothness, and so I'm not necessarily, you know, fiending for that clickety clack. Oh, it would be nice to sort of just, I don't know, just live in that era again. That's why the West Cornwall route, it does have its importance. It does have its significance. You know, that whole line should be joined to track, but it's not. And I feel like that is such a shame that something like that got looked over. You know. I can't tell you what year specifically continuously worded rail was brought in. But even if it was in the 1990s, it wasn't that prevalent. Very weird breaking issue. I I called the sunflower a daffodil earlier, didn't I? You have a 375 off to our right. Southeastern service. So definitely getting closer and closer to London. How far ahead is our good friend? quite far ahead, actually. I can hear a 377 ahead of me. That is why we're being held up. Was... That's the one we've been behind. Yeah, that's the one we've been tailing. I don't know why we didn't just... Signaler didn't prioritize us. That is the service that we've been tailing since Brighton. And considering we had the red for a while, I guess maybe I should have contacted the signaler. Perhaps that may have been a smart idea. I feel like there should have been an automatic process though. That's interesting. We definitely should have been prioritized. Because otherwise we would have had straight greens. Meaning there was no way that service would have had to wait for us at any point. Because as we approached this signal, that service was still loading passengers. That's a shame. It's very hard to ignore how quickly the train accelerates at Notch 1. Let me remind you, we were on a 750 volt DC line. This accelerates quicker than 314 over on Cathcart Circle, which is powered by 25,000 volts overhead wire. You know, when something like that gets, you know, looked over, it makes me want to bang my head against the wall. You know, how could it have been overlooked? How could it have been overlooked? Dovetail produced Cathcart Circle. I know River had the input with scenery, but I think, you know, well, no, I know it stopped there. You know, it's just frustrating. It's frustrating. I'm glad I haven't run the 314 yet myself. I'm yet to get to it. So it's not affecting me as much, but just knowing that in the back of my mind is enough. Because even without having that knowledge, definitely, I feel like I would have noticed how quickly this train accelerates. I don't know if we'll get another chance to do that. To get ahead of that service. Hopefully. Again, AWS ramp didn't activate. Maybe this one will. Yeah. It was nice to see the 166 there as well. I think that's the first time. I mean, I haven't done many runs on this line at all, but I think it's the first time seeing the 166. I know they don't appear for very long. think we'll stick to our rule of remaining at notch 1 until we come across 2 green signals in a row. Completely useless, but I guess it's nice to have. See, I wouldn't... Something like that is nice, but let that come. Let us be able to slide the vent around that doesn't affect us in any way, shape, or form after the physics are on point, after the sounds are on point. It does go all the way to Brighton, to be fair. Brighton, all the way to Portsmouth. That I've just learnt. Only 8 miles out. Interesting, there's only one contact point. I do find it interesting that you can barely see the sleepers. From what I've been taught, there's a little Gatwick Express. From what I've been taught, having been qualified, well, currently being qualified to work on the network, on the rail network system, the sleepers shouldn't be covered in ballast. So I do wonder if for some particular reason, in real life, you can get this. Interesting. I don't recall us going through a double yellow aspect. We went straight from green to single yellow. $25 miles out now. approaching East Croydon Station. Where seems our dear friend is waiting for us. A very busy East Croydon Station. Which makes sense. It's before a lot of the divergences happen. So you still have almost, well, I want to say almost all, but a lot of the services that are coming out of Victoria. An interesting tone, I will say. One of the older generation. I guess it's got a bit more character than what you might get, for example, on the 377. With that little pitch at the end. Took us a little while, but we finally made it. We'll do part 2 as well. I think part 2 is only a few minutes long. So we'll do part 2 as well. Then we'll do a scenario which takes us back. Or yeah, takes us back to East Coast way. Then we'll see what happens from there. If you guys have any ideas, anything you'd like to see particularly, feel free to let me know. Hello Matilda, how are you doing? Feel free to let me know, and then we can yeah, see what we'll do. If you've had enough of the 313, want to see another route, want to see another loco, feel free to let me know. Everything is available. I know there's currently a sale going on, so if you'd like to see something as a preview, I guess, we can do that. It's an odd little sale. It's an odd little sale. There is a sale. You know, you have 10% off, 20% off here and there. I think there's one thing which is 50% off. I forgot what it was though. I might be wrong. But for the majority, there's not too much. There's not too much. 20% is not much when you're talking 20% of 25 pounds. It's not enough at all. But we should have another one end of the month. End of next month, sorry. So hopefully we have some better deals there. I know the 101, I believe, has been very popular this sale. We'll do part 2 as well. If anyone's currently a proud owner of the 313 DLC, what's your opinion of it? Is it what you expected? Anything I'm not too happy with? Let's do it the proper way. Don't see why we would be held here intentionally. Unless that might be why. That's going straight. That's going towards where we need to be going. Yeah, we're still held up. The contact signaler function is completely unresponsive, even through the tab menu, which is interesting. The tracks have been set. We have a green here. This might be why. This might be why. We will see though. But surely we could have gone ahead though. Is this another situation like what we've encountered in the last run? Surely we could have gone ahead. And in any case, the signaler would tell you request denied, which we haven't got at all. I guess we'll wait. We'll give it a couple minutes after these trains clear the way. I don't know why we just didn't do it in one go. I feel like that might have made a bit more sense. As we slowly wait. Oh, we're still held at the Reds. We're still held on the Reds, unfortunately. I don't see why we'd still be held. I don't see why we'd still be held. Signaler is still completely unresponsive. Right, now we're good to go. Did I not say anything right previously? That's interesting. Yeah, just the route, the path just took a long time to load for some reason. I would say it's really nice to see a variation of 377s and 313s. Definitely a lot more immersive. It's interesting that just seeing the two trays alone is immersive, you know, even without necessarily having to drive the 313. Which says a lot. You know, that's echoed by the fact that, for example, you know, you see the 465 on here on Brighton Main Line, even though you don't get to drive them. which I think is really cool. You know, it would be nice to get trains that we don't currently have. For the reason, for example, let's say for the sake of either licensing or long development time, you know, there could be whatever reason that we can't drive them. But it would be nice to have them just on the route, you know, for the sake of traffic, for the sake of immersion, really. It has quite the effect. We'll go back to East Coast where it will do. Let us see. We'll do, I think, a scenario and call it there. We got Double Trouble. And what is coming home? Take over an extremely late running service on its return to Brighton before stabling the train at Lovers Walk Depot. This seems cool. This seems cool. Let's give this one a go. It's coming home. Don't remind me. Welcome to Lose. The next service will pick up football starts of the game call and go all stops to Brighton. Are we driving a 377? This wasn't meant to happen. Alright, cool. Platform 5. So I guess let's take it as we've just come off the 377. Or waiting to take over a 313. I do wonder why we don't have working passenger information screens during the scenarios. Oh, here we are. Look at that. Beautiful. Ironically. You're walking very slow. As trainers, though. I don't know if there was a need for that second 66. I can see as much as you can. As I alluded to earlier, the headlights are purely to be seen and not to see. And we're going to overshoot this station. Or at least the marker. Not too bad actually. However, I have been on full service for a while. Interestingly, no one here wants to get on, although every train here goes to Brighton. So these guys are definitely waiting to go to Brighton. Wish they could sort that out. Yeah, the Brighton Stadium over there. I think that's the first time I'm seeing it at night. I'm glad they lit it up pretty well, to be fair. Look at that, a completely empty train. Look how many people are waiting at the station. You know, passenger update. I mean, you know, nice. Got some new clothes, got some variety. How does that affect me as a train driver? The variety of clothing, the different hairstyles. I want passengers to, you know, enter the train to act as passengers. Let's try and learn from our mistakes. I want to learn from my mistakes, but then I don't want to brake too early. And then cruise at 30 miles an hour for 10 minutes. I guess when you have that bug, you can somewhat exploit that. Not that I have much of a choice. And now all of a sudden braking's back to normal. So it's very hard to build a rhythm with regards to the braking. It's a shame because I'm assuming the whole scenario is based off, you know, the football was finished. Farmer station was, you know, packed, which is fine because, you know, that makes sense and fair enough. The station was packed, but nobody got in. Nobody got in. So what this has become in turn is any regular service taking place at this time, because I've got about 20 people in the train, and even that might be pushing it. It's just these little things, you see. Sometimes it's not about how many trains or how many routes are in the game. Sometimes not even how big the timetable is. But with the little that we have, just work on perfecting it. Work on making it the best it can be, because there is so much more that everything on this game can be. So much more. And we're forced to just, you know, deal with the bare minimum, which is a shame. A big shame. You know, I love the idea of football, and, you know, the trains meant to be packed and whatnot, but why haven't you? It's like they've done half the work, you know. They've created the scenario. It's made sense. It's a good idea. Cool. But the passengers don't move. Hey, you know, the station's gonna be packed. There's gonna be a lot of passengers to move around. All right, but the passengers don't move. You know, it's like someone telling you, hey, you know, come to the restaurant, they have the best soup, for example. They have the best soup. And they've placed the soup in front of you, but there's no spoon. So you're just looking at the soup, and the soup's looking right back at you. But nothing happens. Because there's no spoon. So what was the point in handing you this soup in the first place? And making it such a big deal? And going through the work of even cooking it. It's an odd one. Chainsaw Mode 2 is an odd one. I always find myself going back to this sort of conversation. You know, doing any of these kind of first look videos, or even my regular streams. I know it's been a while since I've done one. But yeah, it's always the same old. It's unfortunate because there's so much potential. That's the issue, is that there's so much potential. I've even been considering going back on the train simulator, which I don't even have installed at the moment. But I shouldn't be going back to a game that's running on an engine from over 10 years ago when I have a game that's had an engine upgrade last month or so. You know? It's like, oh hey, you know, I've got FIFA 22, but I'm more I feel to play FIFA 2010 more, or FIFA 2002, FIFA 11, or FIFA 12. That it doesn't make sense. It doesn't. It's not right. The whole point is bigger and better as time goes on, as newer releases take place. Anyway, I think this is what a lack of competition does. We as a community at the end of the day can only do so much to push for better, to push for more. Look how much work modders put in. Modders fixed this game. I think if I was on a console, or if I was someone who didn't mess with mods, I think I'd have long deleted this game. Nice to see the sidings fall. I think it's honestly the first time I'm doing an East Coast route at night. And I've done the whole journey modes. Which I know isn't necessarily everyone's favourite, however, you know, included within that is quite a lot. A lot of services, I think 56. And there's only about 2 freight services in that. So that's over 50 daytime only services. Don't want to take any risks with the Brits. I've been locked in. I can't open the door. Alright, there's no door there. I felt like I was on the 377 for some reason. You know, it's great. You know, she's walking like an actual human being now. That's great. But it's a shame she can't step into a train to get to where she needs to go. Just being held by this incoming 377. We should be on the move now. L for Lover's Walk, I'm sure. I wonder if there'll be anything that needs manually adjusting in terms of junctions. Oh, it seems we're all good for now. We'll probably have to back into somewhere though. It's very difficult. It's very difficult to there we go. To find the sweet spot just to shut the door. Perfect. That's going to be it for now. If there's any particular routes you'd like to see, any local you'd like to see, let me know now, and we can do that. Otherwise, that will be it. It has been really nothing more than a sort of a first look at the 313. It'll probably be a while before I'm back on it. If I'm being completely honest, it hasn't necessarily blown me out of the water. But I guess overall, like I said, it does what it needs to as the train itself in game, but very buggy. And I wouldn't advise on buying it in its current state until it's fixed. Of course, mainly the physics side of things. But I guess 11.99. It's not too bad ultimately. Up to you at the end of the day, you know, if you feel that it's worth waiting for a sale, which I would probably agree with, then you know that might be your best port of call. Otherwise, my light has been very bright. I've only just noticed how bright my light has been. Otherwise, it's been a pleasure. Thank you very much for being part, and hopefully we'll be seeing you soon. Take care.